First up is TrueBiz. TrueBiz helps acquirers detect fraudulent merchants in seconds by instantly analyzing a company's online footprint. Please welcome founder and CEO, Danny Hakimian.
Hi, everybody. I'm Danny Hakimian. I'm the CEO and founder of TrueBiz. TrueBiz helps merchant acquirers automate the validation of real merchants. Why is this a challenge today? It really rests on three core components. Traditional merchant reviews are either slow, incomplete, or just completely blind. Traditionally, acquirers are doing a lot of manual review, an analyst really Googling a business for 10, 20, 30 minutes, but they can't really spot subtle signals in a scalable and timely way. During this onboarding process of a merchant, they're often doing a traditional kind of KYB, checking the registry, doing a sanctions or TIN check, but they don't really get a sense of the nature of the business in question. And many merchant acquirers today are really dependent on rules-based systems, catching these types of bad merchants post-onboarding using transaction-based rules or content-based analysis alone. But those types of signals only really give you a sense of something going wrong after the boom, after something bad has happened. So how does TrueBiz solve this? What we do is we turn messy merchant data into structured risk signals. So in 30 seconds or less, TrueBiz looks through things like the merchant's website, but also their broader internet footprint to give you a complete profile of the business. And then we layer something in the region of 250 different risk signals on top of that data. So we'll give you a complete profile together with any risk signals we think are relevant for your review. And this intelligence layer really matters across the merchant lifecycle, from onboarding to monitoring. At onboarding, you want to get a rapid snapshot of who and what this business is to decide whether you want to onboard them and any controls you want to put in place going forward. And then on an ongoing basis, we're giving you the signals, the data, the information to detect if there's any major drift from the business you've onboarded. Ultimately, this can be delivered automatically via an API for automated decisioning or via our simple portal, so you can log in as an analyst and really speed up the manual review. And we've been doing this at scale for a number of years with leading players across the payments ecosystem. You can look at our website for case studies with companies like Lightspeed, CurvePay, and others who are massively increasing the speed of their onboarding and increasing the scale and the capacity they have without having to hire massive amounts of overhead. If you're interested in learning more, please do reach out. I'm happy to run sample testing and do a deeper dive and demo with interested parties. Thank you.
Danny, that was awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm now open for Q&A. Okay, Danny, so maybe to start with the basics. Why are payment processors adding TrueBiz when they already have KYB, KYC, sanction screening, and underwriting teams in place?
Yeah, great question. Am I unmuted? There you go. Great question, Danny. Thanks for asking. So at a high level, those types of compliance checks like a KYB or KYC or sanction screen, they'll confirm that the merchant might exist on a registry or they may or may not exist on some type of blacklist, but they don't really tell you anything about who and what this business is. So that's really the gap TrueBiz fills. We help payment processors understand what is this merchant actually doing? Does it actually match what they're claiming to be? And has any of those risks changed either at onboarding or beyond?
Okay, thank you. And building on that, a question on impact. What results are payment processors typically seeing after implementing TrueBiz?
Good question. So I think they would kind of really rest on 3 or 4 core components. First, a lot of acquirers are often replacing or augmenting a very slow manual review. So at a minimum, they're taking 30 minutes of Googling around and they're compressing it into 30 seconds of an automated analysis. The knock-on effect of that also means that you just get far fewer manual escalations. The team can really focus on the case that matters. Growth teams and sales teams really like TrueBiz because it gives both fast approval decisions, but also provides a lot more clarity on why a merchant may or may not be approved. And then finally, fundamentally, at the core component, it's really kind of that stronger risk detection. So faster reviews, fewer manual escalations, better approval decisions. and stronger risk detection are typically kind of the main areas where people are seeing massive impact after implementing TrueBiz in their workflows.
I see. And it leads into your differentiation. What's the most valuable risk signal your customers get from TrueBiz that they couldn't easily get elsewhere?
So ultimately, if you think about what we're doing, we're taking all of these kind of digital breadcrumbs, is how I like to think about it, all of this footprint of the merchant in the physical and digital world. And in 30 seconds, our secret sauce is how we aggregate and amalgamate all of that data point and return it in a way that is actionable. So we're giving you both a complete profile of who and what that business is. But in addition to that profile, we're building the analysis layer so that you can automatically assess whether the merchant should be approved, go into further review, or potentially automatically rejected.
Okay, and how are you validating the merchant authenticity? Do you look at the transactions happening there as well?
So we don't currently look at transactions, but the way we're doing it is putting together all of those digital data points, and then we're sort of weaving it into a narrative to say, for a bakery in Los Angeles, California, do they have the characteristics of similar bakeries elsewhere? They might have some type of Instagram presence. We might be able to assess things like foot traffic. We may be able to look at ownership history or review sentiment, review structure, review age. So it's difficult to action on any one of those individual data points. But when you combine them, that's when you get a really powerful analysis that can really, again, speed up that review process. It can reduce the amount of risk you're seeing by bringing those merchants on.
And is your product building a negative database as it finds problematic businesses like businesses that have no footprint but pass the KYC, KYB?
Yeah, so there's three ways to kind of think about the negative database. We have your own internal blacklist that you can import into TrueBiz to say, hey, we've rejected these businesses before, but and we don't want to see them again. So we also look at characteristics like the phone numbers, the emails, the people, and we just make sure merchant A isn't coming back 2 weeks later with a brand new entity that's going to pass KYC, KYB, but going to miss everything else. The second component is we're also building our own models on that data on what do those kind of trends look like. So over the summer, we've seen things like plushies websites really emerge, where massive rings of websites and merchants selling things like teddy bears emerging, and we're sort of connecting those dots going forward. And then within the TrueBiz product, you can also submit data of merchants that you've terminated. And with kind of the right permission layer in place, we share that data across our customers. Because what we often see is one merchant is just jumping from player to player to player. And they kind of check out. KYC, KYB checks out, the business looks benign, but we know they've been terminated in multiple places and we see that velocity across the network. So those are the three ways. There's an internal blacklist, our internal modeling, and then the data sharing that kind of feeds into the platform.
Okay, and is your coverage for merchants worldwide or a particular geography?
So we do have global coverage. We have customers on 5 different continents. Ultimately, what matters more is, does the merchant have an internet footprint? So a merchant with social presence or review presence in South Africa or Sydney or Singapore often looks quite similar, and we can ingest that data programmatically regardless of the location.
Just one question. I'm not sure if we want to get into details, but if you can share a little, what is your accuracy rate of your discovery, and how is the accuracy vetted?
Yeah, great question. So we think about the accuracy on 2 components. One, in terms of the accuracy and the quality of the data we're able to collect on the business. So if you have an example like Joe's Coffee Shop, there might be 2,000 of them across the US. How do we ensure that we're collecting data and analysis on the right Joe's Coffee Shop? So that's kind of the first gate, the first layer of the accuracy analysis, where we hold a very, very high bar on entity resolution to make sure like there are at least 2 data points connected to that business, like a name and address and a phone number and email, before we ingest that data into the model. The second component of accuracy is the risk analysis we layer on top of the data we collect. So, and a simple example is like MCC classification. As part of the result we return a merchant category code to classify what the most likely code is. But as many of you will know, those codes have a lot of gray area. You can ask 2 different underwriters and they'll come up with 2 different codes. So we often do sort of adversarial challenges where we're looking at the analysis of the MCC code for 3 different human reviewers and the codes that we return, and we're comparing those sort of codes side by side. And ultimately, again, it's what we're comparing against is the next best alternative, which is often just an analyst Googling a business. So those are kind of the types of things that we're looking at in terms of measuring the accuracy. As I mentioned, we're always happy to do data tests. Send us a sample of your merchants for your specific geo, your specific type of business. Send us cases that look good, send us cases that don't look good, and compare what we return against those results to get kind of an accuracy rate very specific for your use case.
Okay, Benny, thank you so much. And if you'd like to connect with TrueBiz, please reach out to the StartPath team or TrueBiz directly. Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody.